Friends and family, welcome back to another one of our discussions on board. We are Chitalayam and we're so excited to have you listening in today as we talk about instant gratification. As always, we're going to start off with a fun get to know you question where all the panelists can introduce themselves and you also get to hear from us a little bit. So, the question for today is for our panelists to tell us which movie is their favorite and why, or which was the last movie they saw if they don't feel like picking their favorite one quite yet and so publicly. So I'll go first. My name is Sia. My favorite movie, hands down, is Bahubali because it makes me feel really good. It's the perfect hero's journey and it's so entertaining. The songs are amazing, the actors are talented. I really couldn't ask for more. I'm happy with that. No like deep, complex philosophical answer there. So that's my answer. And I'm now going to pass it off to Akshay, who's also going to be our moderator for the evening. Akshay, tell us about your favorite movie.
Thank you, Sia. And I want to use the other option to say like a recent movie I watched, which was Mara. It's a Madhavan movie, and it was really good because it was not just about like a hero and a heroine like getting together. It was actually like it had a good story to it, and it was a romance movie, but like not like Madhavan was not really involved in the romance, and that was like a very new take to it. And it was a remake of like another film, but I really like this movie. And next, I'll go to Ilakkiya.
Thanks, Akshay. I'm Ilakkiya, and I'm gonna answer both. Okay, I watched Anastasia last night. I rewatched the movie because I was seeing a few clips of it on YouTube, and I really wanted to rewatch the whole thing. My favorite movie, I'm gonna pick a movie that I watch. It's like always like a feel-good comfort movie. It's a Tamil movie called Unakum Yenakum. It's kind of old. It has like Jayam Ravi and Trisha in it, and it's like such a good romance story. Okay, it's so nice. Yeah, that's my go-to comfort movie. Krupa?
Hi everyone, this is Krupa. So when Sia asked about favorite movie, the first movie popped in my head was Before Sunrise. I love that movie. Romance movie is not usually my genre. I don't watch romantic films, but this one is so simple, so sweet. I rewatch it time to time to feel good.
All right, hey everyone, I'm Deepak, and my favorite movie was something that I watched when I was, I think, in third grade or something. It's Jurassic Park, and I was obsessed with dinosaurs all through middle school. I wrote a storybook about how these four kids get sucked into a world where they have to live with dinosaurs and then kind of escape from that. It I liked this movie because it made me think about the world and what came before us and how we came to be the way we are. And so that is something that has shaped me profoundly in my life, and that is why this movie is my favorite.
Okay, thanks so much everyone for sharing. And now we're gonna like talk about a topic which is instant gratification, and as a good segue from like movies because people do use movies for instant gratification. But I am saying this word again and again. But what does instant gratification mean?
The way that I understand instant gratification is when you want something and you want it now, and you're not going to set any rules as to when you get to experience something. And it's typically associated with pleasurable activities like eating what you want, watching what you want, or yeah, just getting what you want right away.
I think you hit pretty good on the nail, Ilakkiya.
Pretty good definition. I feel like it's a loose concept in a way. Like I don't like have a pinned down answer, but I kind of think of it as choosing to do things that benefit you in the short term rather than the long term. That's the instant part of it, right? Like I'm going to eat this Oreo now because I like Oreos and not worry about my downstream consequences of how healthy am I really making my diet. So that's the instant part of gratification.
Thanks for sharing that, Deepak.
Right. So I do agree with what these guys are saying. So the way I see it, it's about what I call the pleasure principle. It's basically the driving force that compels human beings to gratify their needs, wants, urges. And so these can be as basic as the need to breathe, eat, drink, or it can be as complex as needing an iPhone 6 or whatever, some cool new product. So when we don't get this fulfillment, our psychological response is anxiety or tension. And that is the way I see instant gratification. I don't think all instant gratification is necessarily bad, although there is that sense to the word. I think there's nothing wrong in wanting and needing things or experiences or products in a timely manner. It's just important to balance our desires with a realistic sense of timing and patience.
Why can instant gratification, like what are some ways that instant gratification can be a good thing?
I feel like sometimes in situations where you might need to self soothe, or a way to handle like an overburdening of emotions might be to distract yourself. In those cases, I feel like going to places where you could find some kind of comfort immediately might be cases in which instant gratification will be, not just because then is it even instant gratification if you're not like over relying on it? It might just be like something. So for example, if I go to social media, if I need a distraction from something overwhelming that's happening to me right now, then that's just me going to social media. But if I keep going to it consistently every single day and that's my only form of validation, then only that escalates into instant gratification. So the activities could have overlap. It's just about how consistently and with what intention you use them. That's how I'm understanding it.
That's very interesting because I just see it in a way where if you're able to get pleasure instantly, then it's instant gratification. Just take it from the word. And one of the reasons why I say it could be a good thing is, for example, even after like when you're sad and when you're not able to like talk about it, when you're not able to be there and take in the information and all that, you can sort of like like be like pause, and you can sort of actually like like not think about it by maybe like like watching a movie or like listening to a song, and in like in a few moments you would actually like not think about the sad news, and after a point you get like once you've calmed down you would actually be able to, what, now I can like start dealing with it. Deepak?
Right. So I was thinking of it in terms of reward systems. When you have to do some kind of task that's either repetitive or requires a lot of concentration, you're going to need to keep your motivation levels up. And one way to do that is to build a reward system for yourself. And that's not always easy, but sometimes these ways of getting instant gratification can serve as sort of instant rewards to keep you motivated to do the grind as required.
Yeah, that is true. I do, like when I'm doing mechanical tasks like exercise or something, I usually just like put on some music because I'm just gonna get pain from this, so at least I can get some like good like momentum through the music. Or I also use like audiobooks for that, so totally shout out for that. Anybody else?
Personally, if it is comforting you at the moment, it is a good thing. Anything is a good thing. It is basically self care sometimes. You know, at the present, what you need. Just thinking about what would happen in the future, or thinking about a bigger reward in future, is going to add on to your stress, or you know. So I feel like if it is soothing you at that moment of time, it is okay.
There is a rise in instant gratification culture, and it has made us a bit impatient. So, what are some everyday life situations where it affects us?
Not about everyday life situation. Sometimes if I'm starting to learn something new, a new skill or something new, if I'm not immediately good at it, I kind of like not do it. There's no instant reward for me for starting to do it. So it is actually affecting the way I learn, or improving myself. I think that is one big point that instant gratification is affecting me every day.
I think that I could consider as an everyday situation. We are all learning at all times, and we do all go through it. So yeah, and I totally agree with it too. Deepak?
Can I bring up a point that Vyas made in one of the previous Chitalayam? Okay, so he talked about Vyas talked once about how self help is more useful if you're reading a book, but not so much if you're reading articles, right? So this culture of instant gratification has kind of contributed to changing the way we learn and process information and our information ecosystem itself. And so now we receive a lot of short bursts of information, but not a lot of deep learning. And so what that does is it's created what is called an attention economy. Because people's attention spans are lower, what happens is that everything from corporations to like people who are seeking your attention for a cause, they have to market themselves in a certain way. And if something involves a lot of nuance, then it cannot by definition be structured in a way that appeals to a low attention person. And that, I feel, has contributed to the loss of nuance in our culture and sharpening of polarizing opinions overall.
I'm wondering if this is kind of the point to introduce the concept of the hedonic treadmill. So, for those who've heard of it, it's like this observed tendency in human beings, and we'll include resources as always, where despite like a negative or positive major event in your life, you generally still tend to return to that same kind of established average level of happiness and peace. So, it's almost like you're on this like constant cycle of seeking pleasure, and once you get it, it doesn't necessarily sustainably raise how happy you're feeling or how well you're doing. You tend to level back to that same average point. So with tying this back to instant gratification, sometimes personally it feels like if I'm not careful with the reward systems I have and I'm, constantly gratifying something, it almost fries my ability to perceive that pleasure after a point. And so things that I was, seeking and that were making me happy, if I overdo them without discipline or without, the proper reward system, then they actually even lose value for me. So I don't know if this is an experience that other people have had too, but yeah, I think that could be a downfall of this too.
You bring up a very good point. Sometimes it's a sort of thing where how pain sort of once you do it enough times, it doesn't seem like pain anymore. The same thing kind of works with happiness too, because it's a balance, and because of that, like what Sia said, like makes a lot of sense. And I do want to add like one other point. Sometimes people, one of the everyday things that we do is we see a good deal which will probably come up almost like every week or so. But then we just see it as a good deal, where it's like it's not about the price, but rather the amount, the percentage that's off, like 30% off, 40% off, and not really about how much you have to pay, or like the tax that the hidden tax and all that. And sometimes we tend to buy it, but then after that, like you may not even be interested in it, because I do know some people. Who sort of just like go to Amazon just to check like, oh, what are the new items that have been coming up, and what are the new trends that are going on. And sometimes you don't even want it. It's just that like it looks like you want to have it, and that's the instant gratification that you get from just like seeing it, and you're like, you know what, I think I should get it. And sometimes we buy it, whereas like you actually don't like the item, you just like the deal, and we don't use it after that. Technology has played a huge role in this formation of this instant gratification culture. And like while I say it, somebody has to say like why that's true. So I'm giving that on you guys.
All right, so you post something on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, and for 24 hours nobody gives you a like. How does that make you feel, Akshay?
Um, I mean, if I don't post a lot either, if I only post like rarely, which means that Facebook wouldn't share it much either, or like Instagram won't share it much either, because I don't have the habit. I didn't build a community. They're not gonna share it, and I probably won't be getting likes, and it would suck.
Exactly. I think that makes your point, doesn't it?
Yeah, and funnily though, like only people like who have actually shared it like from time to time, Facebook or Instagram would share it, and because they've got into the consistent habit, and like if you actually do that, then you if you don't get like a like for one post of all the 100 posts that you've like you've posted in the, like say, a year, you'll be like, you know what, it's fine. Actually, that's actually not a lot of posts. So say 100 in like 2 months. uh then you'll be like, you know what, like it was one post, they didn't like it, I got lots so much more likes in other posts. But if that's like one post that you posted, then it'll be, oh man, I guess like it was not a great post. And hopefully it stops there. Some people might even step it up and be like, okay, everybody hates me now.
I think it is giving us easy access to people. You know, if 10, 20 years back, not 20 years, maybe 40 years back, you want to reach someone, you write a letter, right? You write a letter and you post it in the post box, and it has to go to the other place, and the other person to should receive it and read and then reply. Now, if I want to contact you, I can just send you a hi on WhatsApp or many other platform for that matter. So we require, like, we think we have to get reply as soon as we text. That is one kind of instant gratification. We are not ready to wait. And also, like the first question we discussed, movies, our favorite movies. If we want to see the movie, maybe in a few years back we have to wait to go to theater or when the movie is being screened. Now we can just go to Prime, Netflix, anywhere, and then just watch it. So I think all that is like encouraging us, to want more instant gratification. We are constantly seeking more ways, skipping ad-free platforms, stuff like that.
That's very true, and I also want to like add another point to that, which is like, like with TV series, we used to actually wait a day to like wait a week to watch every episode, because then we won't know what's going to happen. So we're always thinking, oh, what's going to happen? And if you watch it with your friends, you're going to be talking about, yo, do you know like what's going to happen? Like this, so this happened, and then that happened. Whereas like none of that is happening right now, because it's like, you know what, let's wait till the whole season is over and then I'll binge it. And I can put my hand up and say, like, I do that. Like I wait for the show to go through this complete set, finish, once all the episodes are have once they've been uploaded, they're like, you know what, okay, now I can start it and probably like finish it in like in that week itself. And some people would call me weak for like taking a week for it. Deepak.
Right, you guys are thinking about all the fun aspects of this. I mean, think about having to reply to work emails all the time, and you're stressed all through the week because you have to be on all the time. And then, of course, there are other like things like business growth. People used to assume that that was something that was going to be gradual. Now everyone wants to go viral, right? I mean, think about people who start a new YouTube channel. They make a few videos, and they think if they share it with enough friends or whatever, then one of these videos is going to go viral and get 10,000 views or 100,000 views, and that's going to make them big. It reminds me of a saying that behind every overnight success there's 10 years of hard work. But that is not the way that the world functions today. And it's also changed the nature of fame, because social media fame these days only really lasts for 15 minutes. You're forgotten the next day unless you capitalize on it. And most people, when fame hits them, are not ready for that. But yeah, it has definitely changed the way that businesses try to grow their customer or consumer base, or their visibility even. Everything's become more exponential now, but it's also become more winner take all because of that.
When you said that, the first thing that I thought of was this random channel called Chittalaya Mental Health. This this YouTube channel, like where we post videos consistently, and we hope it gets bigger. And
I heard
yeah.
great reviews.
Okay, Sia.
When I was researching for today's discussion, I found that there was a survey that was done by Canadian researchers for Microsoft, and they found that people tend to lose interest in what they're watching after around 8 seconds if it's not sufficiently engaging. So in today's world of like TikTok reels, where you're expected to deliver a bunch in less than a minute. I think that makes sense. We also found some correlation with people who multitask between like different social media outlets, or people who have to be on their phones when they're on a meeting, or have to be scrolling when they're watching a movie. They also tend to be bad at like filtering out distractions if they need to focus on something. But it is shown to be less like adult brains are less susceptible to that change than younger brains. So I think it's worth noting here that it is not just limited to our phones. Even now when I think about, I remember there was this time where I had put my phone away for like 2 weeks very willingly in college, and I didn't know what to do with myself when I was just waiting in between classes, or just walking, and I was like, wait, I don't have my phone. I'm not scrolling on anything. I'm not consuming any kind of content. So I have also, like, the more I'm away from my phone, I've also anecdotally personally noticed that my focus on things increases. So this correlation, I feel like, is important to note, especially when we talk about how technology is affecting this, because it's heavy. That's all we do. That's literally all we do. So I don't know if anyone else has had a similar experience with like needing to engage in two things at once. And I don't remember doing this earlier on. I feel like I started doing this only after social media happened.
I just want to flex that in my second year, I once went through 3 months when I didn't have a phone because I broke my phone and like I never fixed it. And after 3 months, I was like, okay, fine. And then my friend fixed it for me because he was like, I need to contact you, and like I don't want to do this thing. And he used to do that through through Facebook, where he used to contact me that way. But it was not online. Then I was basically out of the grid, and he hated that. So he was like, you know what, I'm fixing it for you. And then we fixed it, and it was good.
Ev- Wonderful points from everyone. And honestly, the point about binge watching shows, like that has happened to me recently. And like now I'm correlating it with instant gratification because there's a new YouTube series that a few people have started, and like they only film once every week. And so literally until they put up the next video, I'm checking YouTube every 2 hours. And I'm like, had they put it up? Had they put it up? Had they put it up? And that's terrible. And I started another one, and then I have to wait like a couple of days for a new episode. So I just went back to the previous season so I can watch all the episodes because it completed like one after the other. I can keep going. So I am very much a victim of the culture. But I wanted to mention how advertisements and notifications play a role in instant gratification. Like what you mentioned for Instagram before of if people don't post in a very long time and they make a post for the first time, Instagram actually notifies everyone who follows you. Like if I post something after 5 months, everyone will get a notification who follows me. So they're more likely to come check my post, like it. And what does that do for me? Now I'm more motivated to be on Instagram and like do things on their platform because I got instant gratification. Like I posted it just now after so long, but yet so many people are coming and checking it out. That's awesome. Um, that's one thing. And like notifications are designed to be addictive and like you get instant feedback from people, right? Like, why is it red color? Like your eyes, like the red color catches your eye more often. That's one thing. And like it lights up your screen, your notifications are always on. Apps constantly push notifications on you too. Like if you have them turned off, Snapchat is like, but do you want to turn on notifications? Are you sure you don't want to turn on notifications? So it they play such a big role in wanting to do things, and not even just phone, like so like billboards on the streets, like that way if you're having any thoughts, any urges, like we mentioned before, if you see an ad for it, you're more likely to indulge and get that instant gratification, right? Like pizza ads around 6 p.m. I'm hungry, I don't want to cook. Okay, I'm gonna go get a pizza. It's like ads play a big role in like quick ways to do things.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I also want to say sometimes people even get addicted to this because it's you do since you get it instantly, it's like a consistent amount of addiction where you're able to get it right away, and it's hard to say, okay, I'm gonna stop. Any addiction is hard to stop, and like this is one of them too. And YouTube has also found this okay, like I see people are instant gratification is a pretty big thing in our culture. So they have released this new thing called YouTube Shorts, which is less than 60 seconds, and you have to make sure that like everybody likes it, and you have to like do the intro, the outro, and then like the joke or like whatever the video is, and they're catching up. How to incorporate delayed gratification into our lives?
So one thing you can do is if you are having a bigger goal, you can break it into a smaller goals where you can like reach it like uh, next day you have to do this, or in a short period of time, and smaller goals. So that will give you instant gratification. Also, you will also wait for the bigger goal to get completed. And another thing that I found useful was like to be empathetic about your future self. What if you are having instant gratification now? Would your future self be happy or sad or angry? If there is a negative, emotions or thoughts going on in your future self, you can make it delayed gratification. So when you're understanding yourself in the future, it would help you. And more or less, it is just self-regulation. It is hard for some people. We have to work on it if you are wanting to remove instant gratification from your life.
You've given a very good answer, again, a very sensible way of looking at it too. And I'm glad that you talked about it can be hard, and like so you have to like like go through the grind to be able to do that. Deepak?
The way I see it, the reason instant gratification is so appealing is largely because people are trying to constantly avoid discomfort, right? It's not so much the gratification of what you're seeking, it's what you're running away from. And so learning to live with that discomfort, that is something that can really help with delaying gratification. And so sometimes you should just spend time sitting by yourself, thinking and being with yourself. And having a digital detox is something that some of my friends do, not for very long or successfully, but they do it and it helps. So these kind of things, just learning to do what you need to do. If you have to work for an hour without distraction, make sure you do it throughout that hour. And some people have recommended mindfulness meditation. I haven't tried it, but then they do say that being more mindful, conscious of where you are and everything around you, that kind of attitude does help with learning to accept delayed gratification.
Thank you for sharing that. And it is very true. People do run away from discomfort, and eh, any pain, small or big, you don't want to have it. You never say, you know what, give me the pain. Like I'll wait for the gain. Nobody says that. Nobody wants that. If that is a way to like get the gain without the pain, like you would do that. And sometimes even if there's a gain, you're like, you know what, I can't see the gain now, but I see the pain now, and there's an instant pain, and that's the thing that I can see, so I don't want to do that. And that's why people don't go to the gym after January 1st. January 2nd, they're like, you know what, it's fine. And the same thing happens with a lot of things that we start off on January 1st, because it's a new year, it's a new me, and you do a lot of good things, and you get the instant gratification, and then after that, it's sort of gone. Anybody else?
With instant gratification, what's helped to me to build up that tolerance of discomfort, because I remember growing up being super sensitive about these things. Like if I was sitting down and studying and it got too much, I would just want to stop. So I remember like going through this very intentionally. So some of the things that helped me then was starting off with something that you don't have emotional involvement in. So if you're trying to not, instantly gratify yourself with stuff like social media, and it's what you do almost every single day, it might be difficult to just like quit it cold turkey. So build up that tolerance or exercise that muscle with things that don't mean that much to you currently, so you can abstain from stuff like, if you don't use Reddit that much, then just intentionally tell yourself, I'm not going to open it for 4 days. And then if you build that self-confidence, like, hey, I could do that with this, maybe I can tackle the big guns now, that definitely helped, like building it up somewhere else and then applying it to a different place. also just normalizing that it's the meme, like we live in a society, right? You're not uniquely awful for needing that instant gratification, because that's how we function a lot. But there's a lot of cool alternative sources for just gratification that might not be like openly available to you. But if you talk to people around you who live different lifestyles, or if you can put in that time to research that, you'll find things that you might actually genuinely enjoy more. So it doesn't just have to be abstaining, it can just be rechanneling it into a different way of making yourself feel good. So yeah, Deepak, were you about to say something to what I just said?
Right. Yeah. I wanted to thank you for bringing up the idea that we're not uniquely awful. And I just have one quick question here that I want everyone to answer. How many hours per day do you all spend on social media or just mindless browsing on the internet? Because I think everybody thinks that they're the worst at this, but almost all of us spend way too much time on these things. And the idea of that needs to be normalized to the audience. So just give me a number of hours.
Oh, I can go super quick because I've been working on this. So when I was in college, I was at just my phone time. So I don't know how much of it was social media. My phone time was 10 hours, just like doing things just online, right? And now I've gotten it down to, after a very, very long time, I've gotten it down to 3. But that's because I'm on vacation. So let's be realistic about that number. I'm on vacation. I have the privilege of like putting my phone away. So, you know, 3 for now. But it used to be, very realistically, it used to be 10.
I'll probably say 10 too, because even if I'm like not using it where I'm like actively using it, I do sort of like listen to music or something. I like because I have my headphones on, like I sort of use it and then do something. So it's probably 10 for me as well.
I have a thing on my phone. They have this feature called like digital well-being, and so it like tries to set. Well, I can set goals for myself of like how much time I'm supposed to use, and I fail repeatedly. So I think I average on my phone around like 6.5 hours a day, but that doesn't count the time I'm on my laptop watching YouTube or TV shows through streaming platforms. So I think I would spend close to like 9 hours on, like 8 to 9 hours a day.
So before 2020, it was like 10 hours, 12 hours. I was constantly on my phone. But now, actually, I've reduced it to 2 because I'm working a lot and I'm spending a lot of time with family. And I've adopted 3 puppies and I couldn't get more time with them. And, and I usually watch TV shows or movies when I'm eating. So it's just like doing 2 works together. And then I don't do that. Maybe at night I browse. And I haven't opened my Instagram for, I don't know, a month or so. So I feel like I've reduced it a lot, but I'm not like very proud of it, or it's normal, right? It sometimes happens like this, and sometimes I'm going back to 10 hours, 12 hours. It's okay if it is, if you are still productive after using being online for so many hours, I think it is okay.
I guess to answer the previous question, Akshay, of like how can you incorporate delayed gratification in your life? A lot of good ideas from everyone. I just looked up a few things from Psychology Today, and they kind of suggested, rewarding healthy behaviors. So when you're making choices that are intentionally helping you towards the long run, if you've identified what those things are, that's an important thing first. So that way you can reward those things more instead of the instant gratification, because if you don't get gratified for the instant thing, then maybe you'll be forced to work more towards the longer term thing. And they also mentioned the importance of self-talks, like self-talk to yourself, of like your internal dialogue of, is this okay? What am I doing to myself? Like, what should I be doing instead? It shouldn't be negative self-talk. You shouldn't trash yourself in this process, but kind of using that as a way to regulate your actions and your behaviors, kind of an interrupting voice of sorts, that could be helpful. And in terms of, at least for me, since I do a lot of instant gratification, like something that I try to do is limit it. So if a way to start delayed gratification would be to limit instant gratification, right? So I try to, whenever I realize I'm mindlessly browsing on my phone, I set a timer on my phone. I set a timer for 5 minutes, And so as soon as the timer, like I can continue waste my time for the next 5 minutes, but once the timer goes off, I don't turn it off until I've opened up my laptop, I pulled up the thing I need to be working on, I do whatever I need to do, then I turn off the timer and start getting towards that. So that's one way I interrupt my instant gratification.
That's actually pretty good. I have this like productivity app that I use when I have to do work where I can't be interrupted. So it has a timer, so I know that okay, like while I'm doing this, I'm not gonna check my phone. I'm not gonna do anything. And like one other thing is, like when I go to sleep, I don't like to get called. So like any of my friends, they also know that like at night, if they call me, I'm probably not gonna pick up. So because what I do is I do put it on do not disturb, and I put my phone on the other side, so I won't even get the visual input. So at that time, like I'm not the greatest emergency contact. How has relationship building changed due to the instant gratification culture?
So there's this concept called strong ties and weak ties. Strong ties are the people whom we build relationships with on multiple dimensions. We connect on various things. We express our vulnerabilities to them. We feel validated by them, and that way intimacy builds up with them, and we become close to them. This happens over a period of time, and everybody needs at least a few strong ties in their lives in order to feel socially satisfied. Although, of course, different people have different needs around these things. The other thing is weak ties, and both of these have a role to play in our happiness and satisfaction. Weak ties are, of course, people who are acquaintances. You might see someone at the water cooler, or the shop you go to get supplies, and just people you come across whom you don't have a particularly close relationship with, but they're in your life landscape, so to speak. And the nature of the weak ties has significantly changed since this instant gratification culture came up, especially with technology and everything. The thing in today's world is that once you know someone, you never stop knowing them. 20 years ago, if you graduated from school, then you didn't stay in touch with most people you went to school with. Now you know when your second grade benchmate gets married or has a child, right? That was not a thing before. And so the nature of weak ties has changed in many ways in a positive way, because some of these ties, even if they're not close, just the longevity of it adds some emotional value to it. And I think that just having all of these peripheral contacts has enabled people to connect in various ways that they might not have been able to connect before. And it's been able to create a network of relationships and business opportunities, and just ways to do satisfying things in life that were not possible before, including finding communities of like-minded people that you would not otherwise find in your own geographic location.
You make very good points. I would also say that like at all times, like first impression was always a big thing, but then like people were like like were okay with like giving second chances all the time, because they also knew that first impression is also just like one impression. Whereas now you have so much more belief in yourself that the first impression actually makes a lot of sense. There was a reason the first impression was good or was bad, and like while we always used to judge, we never used to like give like trust our judgment that much as we do now with the instant gratification culture. And the other one is we don't meet people the same way either. Like earlier we used to not really be on our phones, so whenever like we are not doing a task actively, at that point we are either sort of like talking to people or we're just like zoning out. Whereas now we have the ability, what, I might not be talking to you, but like at least I have my phone with me, so I can be doing something at the same time. And we, sometimes people check their emails and everything. If like something like a meeting starts late or like other things. Whereas like like some other ways is that like when meeting starts late, like we can still sort of like talk to people, like show people other things, and because you can gratify people through jokes or through actual videos or everything, and like show them through that. So like it has had some good and some bad with it. So yeah, it's a very interesting change to our culture.
Can we talk about romantic relationships and how instant gratification has changed that? Because essentially, I get the feeling that we've commodified people to an extent. We have with the instant gratification of now, I don't want to, comment on people's preferences and how often and in how much time or what kind of people that they want to engage with, but I have to note the change in how the whole like dating or finding a romantic partner ritual used to work before and how it does now, where there's this, I think it's called Tinder doom scrolling or something, where like it's like this phenomena where people will, they're not even really looking at who they're swiping on, they're just doing it, they're just, yeah, they're just swiping to see who will match back with them so that they feel good about, hey, that I matched with somebody. I find that very, very interesting, and how I'm kind of very keen in observing how that's going to change how we perceive love and relationships, because just giving one person, building a connection with one person takes up so much of your time, so much of your energy, and there are so many like complex things that you have to work through. And I don't know if that's always possible if you come into things with the mindset of, oh, we didn't match on this one thing, okay, cool. I'm not talking about like healthy standards or boundaries, right? I'm talking about just small superficial things where you're like, oh, we didn't match, I deserve better, I'm gonna, okay, I can just do something else. So yeah, I feel like it's affected not just friends but also one of the most uncertain parts of our life, as it's always been, which has been love. So I wonder what other people have to say about that.
Yeah, I can totally see that. Some people even think like dating is like the dating culture is dead. And the first thing I only said there was like, if you guys have watched How I Met Your Mother, Marshall, Ted, and forgot the girl, but like like they, it was Star Wars, a Star Trek, but I think it was Star Wars, and they hadn't watched it, and you're like, I haven't watched it. Is it even like why bother? And like I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm not a Star Wars fan, but like I was like, okay, I see where it's coming from. And one of the other things I would say is that with love languages, like where when giving encouragement, that was something that like that used to be something that once we learn it, it's pretty good. Whereas I do see a future where let's say you're really good at like praising people, but then at that point, yeah, he always does that. He always praises people. So like, it's not. It's like when somebody recommends movies all the time. There would be enough good movies and bad movies. So getting a recommendation from that person is not really a big thing. And I kind of feel like we are sort of going into this culture where even if you praise people enough or like, do the other things, gifts or everything, at some point you would also be like, yeah, that's just something he does, and like, and instead of getting that high from it, you just be like, you just add it as an attribute to the person that, okay, yeah, he does that or she does that. Deepak.
Right. So the Tinder thing, what I feel is that there is a sense of diminishing returns after a point. Like the first time you get on the app and you get like 15 matches, feels like a great thing, right? Like you feel very validated. You think a lot of people like you, and that's really nice. And then after a period of time, because of the way the app itself commodifies these matches and connections, what happens is that you stop seeing them as individual humans with their own feelings and everything. And so if you have 47 matches, it just becomes 47 flavors of ice cream, all vanilla. There's no difference between all of these different people, and you don't, or at least in terms of how satisfying a conversation with them feels to you. And so what happens with a lot of people is that they don't even end up going on dates or meeting these people. There are just all these matches, and after a point they don't even feel motivated to respond to what some match of theirs is saying. And even when you do go meet these people, anybody who's been out there dating can tell you that most of the time dating sucks, right? I mean, it's not that they're bad people. It's just that it's very, very hard to find someone that you really connect with on a deep level. And so to go on a date takes a lot of effort. You have to make time for it, and then get ready and bring your best self and everything. So to do that week in and week out is something that after a point does get tiring, especially if you're not getting what you want out of it. And what you want out of it is probably a deep connection, which is not really going to come unless you're willing to put aside instant gratification, look beyond the most superficial things, and get to know the person at a much deeper level. This is something that a friend of mine once, I mean, he put it in a funny way. He said, "You have to kiss 200 frogs before you find a princess." But I mean, I don't think it necessarily has to be that way. But the thing is, you don't know if it's a frog or a princess in your particular context for what you're looking for, unless you're willing to see past the most superficial things. And that requires you to not look for instant gratification. If you go out on your first date and think, if she doesn't like the same band that I like, then I'm not going to see her again. You're probably not going to get a second date. But that is something that I have friends who do that. And so it's that kind of thing that leads to a sense of diminishing returns. And you end up not making the kind of connections that you want. I'm willing to face pushback on this opinion. So
I don't have the pushback for your opinion. But you brought up an interesting point that I wanted to expand more on. I think with instant gratification and dating culture, like a lot of it's just so many first dates, right? And then very few go to a second date or later and later and later. But I think even the idea of you'll find someone to be your lifelong partner or your current partner within one date is a result of instant gratification because any relationship that you build with a person comes over time, right? Like you need to meet them a lot of times, you need to do random things with them a lot of times, and that's when you get to know, like, here are the things that we're similar about. I like this part of your personality. Instead of like a one-time, one-dimensional, hi, we ate dinner together, so I'm going to learn everything about you right now. That's not realistic. And odds of you finding a partner, like even if you did meet your perfect partner, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't identify them as such within the first date, right? So I think, like, and someone told me like every good relationship, it's like you both mold each other into the best people for each other, right? And that takes time. And like anyone can become your partner as long as like you both are willing to work on it and like become the right people for each other. And with instant gratification, you're not going to find a freshly made perfect partner, all the characteristics, one shot, boom, go. Like that's unrealistic. And I think that romantic relationships have been really affected by that because love at first sight and like figuring out you like someone like first date is impossible.
You
I'm
make a very
shocked,
good point.
just shocked. Are you telling me that Hollywood has been lying to us this whole time?
Everything about Hollywood is a lie. Okay, the sounds that people make when they get hit in a fight are so exaggerated. The amount that people get to fly in Indian movies after being hit also exaggerated, right?
You're saying the Power Rangers, all the crackers that burst, like after a fight, all that is like not real.
I hate to break it to you. Tooth Fairy ain't real. Movies ain't real. I'm so sorry, but you've been fed
Wow,
a
you
lie.
guys are really denting my worldview
Ilakkiya
right now.
in Bahubali, Samana cannot float across an entire waterfall.
Let's assume that instant gratification is not the path of least resistance. And if that is the case, how would that world look like? A world without instant gratification?
So I feel like instant gratification for us, maybe it is in one day or 1 hour. So when you remove it, maybe instant gratification would be getting the result in 1 month or 1 year. It is just the time is just increasing. That I think it won't actually go away. So your delayed become further away, your instant would become a little away. That is what I think.
I think we'll have a lot of huge successes, great like geniuses, inventions, things like that, because I feel like a lot of us get bogged down with the instant gratification and are unable to commit the long effort and attention it might take to do something really cool or great, above average, whatnot. Like more than just I got A's in my classes, if that's like the level of success, but something more. So uh, I think there would be way more self-satisfaction, self-fulfillment, um, maybe even less comparison and jealousy if everyone's able to like work longer towards more meaningful goals, because then they're more self-assured in what they're working on because they've spent the time to actually suss out, is this what they want to do or not. So if they're spending a lot of time on it, they know it's something they like, they'll feel satisfied in what they're doing. So there's some ways I think the world might be different.
So yeah, in a world where there's no instant gratification, you're probably going to find a lot fewer love at first sites and a lot more love at 40-second sites. But in a more serious way, I think it has to start with how do we get to that world, right? And the biggest driver of instant gratification right now is companies like Google and Facebook and Amazon. So the big tech companies. The question is, what is it about their algorithms that makes us more addicted to instant gratification? And is there something about that needs to change? That's something that needs to be studied at a policy level, at a corporate level as well. Beyond that, I also think that we need to rethink the way we imagine success, because the path to success is often we see it as people just getting lucky. A lot of the time it doesn't work out that way. And because of, like, when we read autobiographies, right, we only read autobiographies of people who succeeded. We don't see what happened to all those people who failed. There's even a book called Why Most Things Fail. I would recommend everybody read that. But we have to study how failure happens and why it happens. And our ideology around what constitutes success needs to change to become something more sustainable, something that is based on more substantive effort, and a more consistent process and systems, as opposed to hoping to hit the lottery, so to speak.
Sometimes I feel like we're all the panelists here are younger, and we haven't lived out a life where we'll find, much to our surprise, that we will start enjoying delayed gratification after years and years of working on something that we weren't even intentionally doing, and then suddenly we'll wake up and we'll be like, wow, I actually got really good at this and I didn't even notice it. Or wow, I have this relationship that I worked on, be it with my friend or somebody else, that's now going to see me through for a long time in my life. So part of me hopes that even if you might be somebody who doesn't have the bandwidth to be very intentional about, oh, this is instant gratification for me, or I'm going to this is something I'm going to work on for a long time. I'm hoping that for a lot of people it's just going to happen because of how life is. Like, you will keep doing the same things, and even if you're not consciously disciplined about something, you will pick up a lot of experiences in the way, and things will just get easier. You know what I mean? So I kind of hope for that already. But if instant gratification weren't a thing, I feel like a lot of people wouldn't need digital detoxes. A lot of people would be reconnecting with themselves and not necessarily basing things off of what other people are doing, because I think that's a very natural correlation of gratification from social media, is that you're still consuming content about other people's lives and then you're comparing your own life to it. So in a world without that, I also imagine that hopefully our comparison of ourselves with other people, or our need to conform to certain ideals that might not suit us, also goes down. But it's a hypothetical question, so I can be as idealistic as I want to be. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
everybody said very good points and like lot of like positive points as well. I would say like one negative would be like if you're sad, then I hope that you're able to work it out because like, nothing's gonna help you. You have to like sort of like work on the pain.
Oh, I love going first for closing thoughts. Probably that take responsibility for your reward systems. For some, you might need instant gratification. Don't judge yourself for those. For some, it might behoove of us to, purposefully give up on things that we might not need to just to build up our tolerance for it. And yeah, do whatever works for you best. Don't, yeah. Good luck.
So we discussed a lot of wonderful points today. So instant gratification need not be always a bad thing. So if it is not personally harming you in any way or others around you, you can need not be so hard on yourself if you are indulging in instant gratification. All this traditional way of thinking, we are taught that you have to work hard to earn your reward or to be gratified, to earn the pleasure. You have to work hard. So sometimes when we get an I'm sorry, instant gratification, we feel guilty, we feel sad, we feel like we don't deserve it, right? So all that times you can understand that it is not necessarily a bad thing. Okay, and I forgot to mention a point like if you are running from a particular task and choosing instant gratification for that, you can for example, you're writing a book and you want to write a page every day, so you can have a pre-commitment even before you start the task. Like you can tell a friend, I will send you one chapter at the end of the week, even before you are starting. So that commitment would help you not to get distracted and stick to your task and think of the delayed gratification about sending that one chapter to your friend at the end of the week. So yeah, that is all. Thank you, thank you. This was a nice meeting.
I guess similar point to what Krupa made, like instant gratification isn't always terrible, but it is really important to think of yourself down the line. So I am definitely going to be trying out the tactic of like future empathy, where like how would my future self be feeling about me doing this instant gratification right now? Like, is it helpful or is it not? That's definitely a really good tactic. And I guess if you can think of the ways that instant gratification is influencing your life, you might be able to find ways to curb it, because parents were the ones who used to keep us like, in check, telling us what's right, what's wrong. But now we have to do that regulation for ourselves in terms of what's good for us, what's good, not good for us. Like it's not worth it to sit at the end of the week and not have any clean clothes to wear, right? Gotta do laundry. So uh it's possible. We can all take responsibility for ourselves and be better people because of it.
I want to speak directly to the audience here. Forget everything we've said in this video. I want instant gratification right now. And I want all of you to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. And I want you to share these videos as widely as possible. Give us that instant gratification, baby.
My thing is probably get a friend who doesn't respond right away. That one friend who always takes a day to respond or like a week to respond. They would test your patience, but like they would keep you in check. Anyway, thank you so much for everyone who showed up here and taking your time. And I absolutely loved everyone's insights, and we had a lot of fun talking today. We talked about like a topic that was not really that sensitive, so we were able to like joke around a lot more, and it was fun. Had a lot of fun, and I hope the audience did too. Thanks so much for watching. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks for watching. For more discussions, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Also, make sure to like and comment more topics that you'd like to see us discuss. We'll see you next time.